I've had 6 clients banned from Instagram in 1 week. We just think a posting plan is a strategy, and that is not. That is like one of the last elements of putting together a strategy. We're 22 times more likely to remember a story over facts.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Market to Me, the podcast hosted by Brenda Barron. I'm your host, Joe Barron, a New York-based creative agency owner. And on this podcast, we break down how creatives turn their work into real brands and real opportunities. Today's guest is Mariah, MacInnes, better known as the Content Queen, a marketer who's built her business around organic content strategies that don't rely on trends, hacks, or chasing the algorithm. She also has over 300 episodes on her podcast, the Content Queen Podcast. With a background in journalism and PR, she approaches content differently, focusing on storytelling, audience connection, and building systems that actually support business growth. So let's welcome Mariah to the pod.
Hello. Thank you for having me, Joe. I'm excited to talk to you. It's been a little while since we connected when you were on my show, so I'm excited to get into it.
Now, you have an interesting background because I didn't realize that you have a journalistic background and PR before moving into marketing. So how does that shape the way you create content today?
My interest is always in storytelling, writing. So I naturally went into journalism after I finished school. And yeah, I think they always say that like journos and people in PR make the best marketers because we always have that target audience lens first, or people like when they hear journalism backgrounds because we are always naturally ingrained to always think of the person on the other end. Like that's what we've been taught through all of our studies. So when I finished school, my university, I went into internal comms, which I think is the hardest audience to market to, which is employees. So you have to make employees interested in what the company is doing. Obviously, some of them are there just to get their money and go home. So after that, I found it came really natural for me to create engaging or things that people were interested in because that was my job all the time. So I find having that background's helped me a lot with being strategic and then thinking about the person on the other end. And then obviously that storytelling element, because stories is what makes journalism and PR interesting, exciting. Journalism has changed a lot since I finished my degree, and a lot of it I don't necessarily agree with. But I think the foundations of storytelling and connection to audience are the two things that I think have helped me a lot in marketing and helping people. Because when we have a business, naturally we know our product's great. We just want to sell it all the time. And from that journalism and PR background, I kind of come in and be like, well, first we have to do it in a way that connects with the brand because PR is very like damage control. And then also at the same time, we have to be thinking about that person on the other end, that it's not all about you, it's all about them. So it helps me with that lens, I think, a lot. And helping clients see that, because I think a lot of times, as I said, they just want to promote their product, and any content that promotes their product makes them happy.
Exactly. I mean, so many people like to talk about themselves, make them the hero instead of the consumer, the audience, the target audience who is the actual hero, and you're just kind of guiding. You're the Yoda or, Obi-Wan Kenobi. I don't know. Star Wars Day was the other day. So when you hear this, that's the reason why I'm making all these references.
May the Fourth be with you.
Yes, I think today's Revenge of the Sixth. I think that was it.
Yeah.
The point still stands. You're the guidance, the wisdom. You're the teacher along the way. You kind of guide them the way. You're not the hero. The hero is the actual audience who you need to buy or sell this service to, right?
Definitely.
And then so storytelling marketing seems to be like a buzzword right now. It seems to be like the hot thing. Everyone's doing it. Do you like? Am I wrong, or is it like that seems to be something that either is it just here today, gone tomorrow, or is it just like people just finally opening their eyes and realizing like, hey, we should have done this from the beginning?
I think say with the lens of social media, we've started to realize that like the things that connect with audience has got nothing to do with what we actually sell and our story and our journey, and people buy people. And I think now that AI has completely taken over our lives, and I don't know anyone that doesn't really use AI in their business at all. So now we're like, okay, well, how do we stand out? And that's through our storytelling. And we've seen this through places like TikTok. I mean, how many times do you stop on something because it's like a story or it's gossip? Even if it's good or bad gossip, it's still gossip, right? We like from, centuries, we've connected with stories from our ancestors. I mean, I'm from Australia, and our Indigenous population, they have the Dreamtime, which is all about the stories, and I went to Uluru a couple of years ago, and everything is based off the stories, and they told stories through their drawings. So we have always connected with stories. And I think we forgot it along the way because we just, oh, well, it's easy just to share and sell what I do. And then we came to like 2020 when everyone was online a lot more. And then we sort of had this like, oh, we could sell anything, like the world is my oyster, and we could. And then it's sort of people started to get bored of it. And they started to stop trusting, and then they got a bit skeptical. And then the reason we were able to connect and build more trust was through our stories in our expertise, our stories in our lived experience, our stories in our customers and clients and how they've had an impact from what we do. And I think now we're like, we trust people that share stories. And I was literally having a conversation just before this with good internet because I was at the caravan park where we stay, because if you don't know me, I live in a bus and I travel Australia in a bus, and my partner and I had to move on to another place. So we're like, we'll just park on the side of the road and I can do this interview because internet should be fine. Anyway, we didn't have the best experience, but we're here now. But I had a meeting and one of the clients said to me, I feel like I'm seeing a lot of people sharing stories and talking to the camera very naturally, not polished edits and YouTube style editing. And I said, because what connects us now is the fact that I feel like you've just FaceTimed me and we're just talking, you and I, not anyone else. So it's like the person on the other end wants to feel like you are just telling them that story. No one else knows this. So it is that sort of FaceTime sort of concept that as if like I've seen influencers do it, and I've seen the comments where people say, oh my God, it feels like you're FaceTiming me. Literally feels like it's you and I on a call. It doesn't mean we stop marketing ourselves and we stop sharing what we sell, but we start to blend in stories. Imagine if you were looking to buy a service from someone. You were looking for a lawnmower, someone to mow your lawns. I just saw that someone's got very long grass out there, so they need one. And you're looking and you're searching, maybe it would just be easy to type in lawnmowers near me. But if you're like, oh, I can't be bothered, I'm not doing it, I'll just put it off. Then you're on social media and you see Joe, the lawn mowing guy, has a TikTok and he does his little lawn mowing and he has the voiceover of him sharing. This was a client I worked with today. They have a X meter backyard and they were having a barbecue coming up. So they hired me to come and mow their lawn. And as he's mowing the lawn, and there's a video of him mowing the lawn, there's voiceover of him telling the story of that job. You're like, oh, lawn mower. Joe, he's in my area. I will connect with them. So this is how storytelling can be used for like any business that you're in, but it builds that connection with people because they're seeing it and they're hearing it and they feel like they are part of that story and that journey. And that's why now we see product-based businesses packing orders and sharing the story of the order. Artists sharing stories around the art that they create. It's not just a piece of art, there's a story behind it, because we naturally listen to storytelling. We naturally engage, and we're 22 times more likely to remember a story over facts and figures. So that is why it'll always win. I think it's just people are starting to go back to it. I think we've always been that way, but now people are going back to it more because they're realizing with AI and with how the online landscape has changed, we can't just show up and sell our products anymore. We have to connect with our audience.
And now I'm thinking about it, like we humans throughout history, it's always been a word of mouth, passing on story to story, everything before it's written down. That's the thing that everyone, like you said, we connect to and we're going back to. Now, you brought up a great example of Joe the lawnmower telling a story through voiceover and sharing his story a bit of, but like, it just still makes me wonder, how do you balance the storytelling with actually selling something without it feeling forced?
Mm-hmm.
Because it feels like the line, and it could be salesy or too much like the story's not hitting right. I mean, sometimes I'm a sucker for, I like the polish. That's kind of what I grew up with. I like the polished stuff, like the unfiltered, unraw. But then again, the whole branding, graphic design, I can't just be like, yo, what's up? It just doesn't feel natural. Maybe for some people they can pull it off, but like I feel like in the field of marketing, you just kind of have to be glitz and glamour to an extent. I mean, obviously we're changing the times, but I just want to feel, how do you balance that tightrope walk without it feeling forced?
Yeah. So if we look at like a traditional marketing funnel, which I know is not the same as it used to be, we have 3 different types of content you would create. You would create your brand awareness content, your consideration content, and your conversion content. So what you want to think about is when you're telling stories, you sort of blend them into the intention of the content you're creating. Everyone has a different reason as to why they are on social media, why they email their list, why they create a blog content, why they have a podcast. When you go back to that intention, it helps you craft your stories in that way. So for example, if my podcast is for business connection, my stories will always lead into selling something at the end or sharing about my service. That doesn't directly have to say, buy my product, book a call, whatever. You can have things like in a podcast, you have your show notes with links for people to learn more about you. Some episodes, I might share an offering. Some episodes, I may not. On social media, it's the same thing. You might be on social media, to sell your products and services. So you just blend it. You can have stories where you ask people a question, like, what are your takes on this? What are your thoughts? Build community, build trust. And then you have some posts, like whenever you're planning out your content strategy, you should always leave room for different types of posts. This can also go against campaign. Like if you are running a campaign on Mother's Day, you expect that Mother's Day is on Sunday, so that's why I'm saying it in Australia. I don't know if I think it's the same in the States. I think Father's Day is the only one that's
It's the same every
different.
year.
Yeah. I think we have a different Father's Day though. That's the thing. So Mother's Day is coming up, right? So you probably should have already been campaigning. Of course, there is a period of time where you are expected that you are going to sell probably in every post. And then for maybe a 6-week period, all of your content is really engaging and educational or valuable, right? So, or controversial, however your take is on your brand. So that's where we find that balance. And then with storytelling and selling, I call it it's called social selling or storytelling selling. I did one last night for a client who, we do a lot of LinkedIn content and we thought we don't really sell as much as we should because it's easy not to. I find people find it easier not to sell than to sell. So I was like, okay, cool. We got a really great story from a client on how they use your app. So I turned it into a story. And then at the bottom, I did the call to action. Like, just like this client, just like this customer or this user, you also too could onboard your children and get the support. We have a free trial, 7-day free trial, sign up here. That can easily add into the end of a story. You tell your story and then you lead into your call to action. Some that doesn't make sense. If we were telling a story, for example, this same client has been 5 years working for herself and there's a lot of lessons she's found from that. I'm not going to say like free trial. Now at the end, I'm going to share the lessons and then ask people a question, or just it's a celebration post. So the point of it is it's going to reach more people. It's going to get more engagement. Is it going to convert people? Probably not, but that's not every post is there to convert. Some of them are to build authority, to establish trust, and just to create connection. And now what you're saying, Joe, with like that kind of like polished, non-polished, there can be posts where you are more polished. There can be instances where you are, and there can also be some where you might have a video like, say, your podcast video, where you just sort of edit the bits out that are really good of what you're saying, and it can still be a polished, non-polished look, right? You're still sharing a story. It's not so much in how it looks, it's more in what you share. Because I've had videos that I've seen that are really polished. I did a docu-series for a client that had been in business 20 years. We told the story of their being in business 20 years. We broke it up into a 5-part series. They were polished. They had voiceover. They were meant to look like a documentary. And they got across the 5 videos, across 3 or 4 different channels, over 200,000 views. So like that was a polished video and it still worked. I think obviously you have to be in alignment with your brand, because some brands to be a little bit less, polished can mean different for every business. It just depends. But in saying that, your Louis Vuitton on TikTok, they're not resonating because everything is too polished. It's those videos where they pick up the bag and they put the bag down and then they leave and it's like a model and it's just not resonating. So how can you make things resonate and still be on brand, I think is a question that everyone has to ask themselves.
I agree, because I think you have to know your brand. Not only that, you have to also know the platform. Your platform is different. You can't go with the same tactics for everything, which is part of creating a whole strategy behind attacking one way or another. Doing so, it makes me wonder, like, if someone's trying to create better content, what should they be focusing on first? Should they be focusing on the message? Should they focus on the audience? Should they focus on the format? Should they be focusing on the format of the platform? What do you think?
Whenever I build out a strategy, obviously having the brand and the brand message first is really strong, because like, what is your mission? What are you here to do? Because then that will help us understand, okay, well, how do you serve the client that you want to serve. So if you know and understand it, it might not be the exact message that like the exact word for word, but it's like, what are you here to do and what do you want to convey? Then from there, understanding that audience and that person. Whenever I do a content marketing strategy, obviously I use it with people that already have some form of established brand and they sort of have that messaging there. But then the first thing is, of course, like we have to understand who our target audience is. We have to, and then how that relates to what we're trying to do. So when I look at target audience, I look at it from one, the person. So the person's interest or the person's personality and their values, regardless of our brand, like regardless of what we create. Then you need to look at it from the lens of, okay, how would they connect with our brand? What are their specific pain points that our problem solves? But then what are their specific pain points outside of our offering or what we do? And then before we even look at channels, we need to understand, like, what do we want to do? What is this, like, what are our goals? What are our business goals? I did a workshop last week and I asked, like, who here has business goals? And no one could put their hand up and say that they did. They didn't know where they wanted to be in 5 years. And I know the landscape's changing. It's like anything. We start a goal at the start of the year. Like, I want to speak Spanish every day, which I do because my partner is Spanish speaking. I'm going to South America at the end of this year. And my Spanish is slowly improving, but it's not that great. So I had a goal that I was going to speak Spanish every single day. Do you think I could do Spanish every single day? No, it is not possible because I get busy and I don't think we can do, apart from drinking water and like the daily things, it's hard to do the same thing every single day, right? It's hard to build that habit. Because, so for me, I now need to reflect on that goal, right? So any business is always so scared to set long-term business goals because we're like, oh, but things change. Yeah, goals are not fixed. Like you can evolve them, right? So once you know roughly what you want to achieve in the next 5-10 years, then you can go, okay, what marketing goals do we need to set? Where do we need to be? What do we need to be doing? So for example, if I had a goal to run more workshops, then my goal would be, okay, if I'm going to run workshops, I need to probably create content on that, but it might make sense for me to have some sort of verbal content, video, podcasting, because people can see what I have to offer in the spoken word. Maybe not make so much sense for me to be completely written language content because no one can see what I have to offer and the value I have to give from a speaking perspective. So that's one kind of goal that you can have. So then you go, okay, now what platform should I be on in alignment with what audience I'm trying to target? So I always do that. I have a 7-step framework that I work from target audience goals, and then we look at platforms, and that's all in sort of like the research phase before we even get into what we're known for, which is sort of already done in the market, in the branding, but then we come back to it and what's our posting plan look like where are we showing up, when, and what types of content we're creating, and then what like marketing activations or campaigns are we running. But those 3 steps in terms of like target audience, your goals, your specific goals, and then the platforms we need to show up on are the 3 like really integral parts of building a strategy. And it's really interesting because I had seen a video or someone had shared with me, this guy, he's like got heaps of followers and this like really good business. And he's like, I don't have a content marketing strategy. I post from the heart. And I'm like, he has a content strategy. It's just he doesn't have a posting plan. You know what I mean? Like yes, okay, he might not know today I'm going to post 5 tips on XYZ. He just gets up and posts. Great. That's a posting plan. That's not a content strategy. A content strategy is mainly those 3 parts. And then the rest is like how we execute that part, right? So anyone that says you don't need a content strategy, just post from the heart, also probably has one because they know who you are, because they're talking directly to you. So I think yeah, that's right. We just think a posting plan is a strategy, and that is not. That is like one of the last elements of putting together a strategy. It's like the equivalent of the logo and the colors in branding, right? Yeah, like the logos and colors are just like the icing on top of what is the messaging and the foundations and the values and the target audience and all of that makes up, okay, from that information. And that's what's so funny. And you probably find the same thing when you do branding. People will be like, they straight go to the colors they want and the logo that they want, and they don't realize the underneath the iceberg of what makes up an amazing brand. And yes,
just to clarify, the logo isn't the brand. That's just, it's a cliche. It's cliche, but it's true.
Yes. Yeah, definitely.
Do you think from your experience, do you think people stretch themselves out too thin by trying to be everywhere on every single platform, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, Threads, yada, 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 you name it, instead of like actually thinking, all right, well, here's the content strategy. This is what we should be doing, discussing this whole week or this whole month, and then move on and then figure out we should be posting on here because this is where our audience is. We should be focused on these two platforms only. It's nice to have it on LinkedIn, but it's, that's not where our audience is.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think what ends up happening is now we can repurpose things, and with AI, we can be everywhere. But then you just kind of like, there is a balance, right? You want to have an amplification strategy, which is your repurposing. But at the same time, I think that comes naturally with the evolution of the business. I would never recommend someone like, oh, you've got a podcast, just convert it into a blog, super easy, because there is a lot of logistics that go with that. If you are doing it on your own and you're not hiring someone, like that's when hiring a content marketer, a VA, a repurposing strategist will help with the amplification of your content. But to begin with, I think it's like, all right, what is our core channel? What is the main channel? I do love a long form channel, to be fair, like a podcast, a blog, a YouTube channel, because that does help us repurpose into social media content. But we don't need to be on all of the platforms because everything comes at a cost, right? Like if you're going to do Twitter or X, you've got to change the content slightly for it to fit that channel. Like what works for Instagram doesn't necessarily work for TikTok. I find what works for TikTok does work for Instagram. So that's a great repurposing space.
Okay.
And we know naturally Instagram goes to Facebook very easily. So that's
I always felt that Instagram and TikTok never really jived. Like it's similar if you kind of had the reels, but it just doesn't,
I think,
or at least it didn't convert as well.
Yeah, so I always go with a TikTok first strategy because TikTok, you're always natural. Like, would I post, like, I always go, like, if I do something on Instagram, there is no way I would post. Like, you can do more promotional stuff on Instagram. TikTok, like, don't even think about it. Like, it shouldn't even be considered because it just doesn't land. But I find if you repurpose that stuff to Instagram, it does because it's that top of funnel stuff. But the other way around, not so much. So I have a client where we created a TikTok first approach. Even though TikTok's not their strongest channel, it helps me create the most engaging content and I repurpose it to Instagram, Facebook. It actually lands the best on Facebook. And if it lands really well on Facebook, it will land on Instagram. And then obviously it's landed on TikTok. Everyone's audience is very different though, of course. But so to go back to your question, the most important thing, if you can have focus on, and it depends on your business, because I have been questioned on this in terms of funeral directors, wedding or marriage celebrants don't necessarily need an email list to a degree. It'd be good to have a client database, but like hopefully no one's getting married again and then obviously losing someone. You don't want to be on the email list of a funeral home. It doesn't really resonate.
Join us as we commence.
Yeah, or refer a friend. It doesn't really work. So, but in saying that, I think it's important to go, okay, where am I sending these people? If you don't have some sort of mailing list, I think you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot if you're relying on external channels to always bring in traffic to your website, because obviously if Instagram tomorrow just shut down and all of your audience is on Instagram, what are you going to do? How are you going to communicate with them? I've had 6 clients banned from Instagram in 1 week. And if they didn't have an email list, what would we do? We would be really upset. We got the accounts back and everything was fine. It was traumatic at the time. I say, what channel should we focus on? If you do have somewhere you can collect data from your audience, a channel where you're showing up socially and some form of long form content, even if it's not to begin with, if it's something you think about down the road, that's a really strong base to work from. Then later, when you have more capacity, maybe more team, you can think about repurposing. In saying that, there are channels I absolutely don't need to be on. It's just a waste of time and you're just creating noise. And I had an interview with a guy that's like, I've got this repurposing plan where I'm on every single channel. And I've looked at there's no point. It literally gets 2 views. In my opinion, 2 views, 2 people, aren't they taking action? I don't know. So I think obviously sometimes you could be a bit too spammy. And I've done that before. I remember writing tweets when I side hustled. I was on every channel. And I remember doing a tweet in my lunch break and thinking, what am I doing? I don't even like Twitter. Why am I here? And I do strongly believe in the balance between being where your audience is and being where you like to be, because there's no point being on a channel if you despise it, because you are not going to show up in a way that is authentic and your audience is not going to connect with it anyway. So I think there is also a conversation to be had around that too.
That's funny because I do remember when I first started, I had a clothing line, was able to get it sell in stores and all that. But it also felt like when I would post about it, it was very spammy. And it was just it took a while to realize, especially later in my career, where I was like, oh, it's more storytelling. What image am I portraying? I could see why some people wanted to take a step back when I was heavy spamming that part.
Mm.
And also it's being on the actual platform that you like TikTok. I have a much bigger audience than anywhere else. I'm trying to grow my YouTube, trying to
Mm-hmm.
grow my Instagram. I don't know. I like Instagram for some reason. I think maybe because when it first came out, I didn't have it. I think it wasn't available for BlackBerry or whatever phone I had. It was only available for certain people who had a certain phone. And then I was like, I wanted to be on it. I had that, FOMO. And then all of a sudden I had it and just never was able to capitalize on it. So my Instagram, I like it. Doesn't do me any favors. It's helped
Yeah.
me find people professionally to help me assist on design jobs or connect with people to network for other projects that I had. Or TikTok is the one that has the most, and I really don't like it. I really don't want to be on it, but I know,
Ah,
and you're right, that it's you can't promote it. Like I put clips of the show, and they just like tank. But it'll also be
yeah.
for that. It took me a while to post on it, and I do know that people love pop culture. So pop culture stuff, whether
Yeah.
it's art related, that shoots straight up, and that's just in general. It doesn't matter. Every platform
Yeah.
that will always sell because it's relatable. And that's another
Yeah,
thing I
that's
think
right.
part of
Top of the
storytelling
funnel.
is that it has to be relatable to you. Like, how are you going to sell somebody something if they can't relate to it? Which is
Mm.
your point of the whole Louis Vuitton bag model. It's not like, hey, I'm hanging out, going to the
Yeah,
mall,
yeah,
going out
yeah.
to a nice dinner. I'm bringing my Louis Vuitton bag out. It's not,
That's
there's
right.
no visual of explaining it of how to do that. And so it's always interesting. And then you're talking about how things being automated, right? How being repurposed.
Mm-hmm.
And it reminded me of a recent episode of your podcast where you were talking about should be questioning the AI
Mm.
outputs. Like,
Mm.
it's important. Everyone should be doing that instead of just blindly accepting it. Everyone's guilty of it at some point, but like, again, we should be pushed back. So I agree with you on that. But you also talked about being transparent about when something's automated, like using mini chat for a response. Do you think people already realize those prompts are AI generated, or do businesses overestimate how human automation feels?
I think it depends on the demographic you're speaking to and the like industry. So in
Hmm.
our industry, I think naturally we work with business owners. Business owners know that's happening. I think like we understand that, especially in marketing. But in saying that, like I have automated emails, right? We all have automated emails. We all generally know a lot of the emails that come out are automated. However, I still get people responding to them as if they think I've just literally send on an email, which I think is nice, right? I think that's a nice problem, right? So that the
Especially if
way
you
in
have a
which
question like a call to action.
the way in which they've responded, it literally like I think they think I've just literally opened my Gmail and emailed them, which I think is nice. I think that's the point. The problem with the AI is obviously when something is sensitive, something is like the intent of the keyword was the automated message intent. It should not have triggered, but that's just how it is. And I think in consumer, like B2C, like business to consumer, I think a lot of consumers that aren't in this world probably don't understand that is AI. Although in saying that, Facebook Messenger brought out automated responses. If it's like someone's message and that response comes out straight away, I think you're like, oh, they replied quickly. But I think with a keyword that can sometimes be like, I'm unsure. I think as I said, it is situational. I think I have one for like podcast, and then sometimes I'll go like, oh, sorry, that was AI. But I think a lot of them now, like you can send like a little branded post straight after to say like, this has been powered by ManyChat. I think if you don't pay for it, that comes naturally anyway, which I think is good because then people know like, oh, that wasn't her. Because sometimes it'll happen like you're having a conversation with someone and they might go like, oh yeah, I listened to this podcast the other day. And then all of a sudden my podcast message comes up and then it's like, oh, that's awkward. Like that it's just weird. But then if it says, powered by ManyChat, they go, oh, that's obviously an automated message. But I think in terms of if you are working in a more coaching consulting space, if you're a therapist, if you're dealing with sensitive topics, I think having, like I have a client who they're working in the grief space. They are a widow. They have a lot of widows that follow them. And we want to set up an automation that as soon as she gets a follow, we send them a message. But we need to be really clear that that's automated because that can come across really insensitive if it's a sensitive topic. Like I don't think you can really get away with like having this really big automated message and people that don't understand that that is automated could get quite offended by it. So I think it is situational. I think now we are more becoming accustomed to the fact that people are using AI. I think it's no secret now. I think for a long time, even with clients myself, like I was like, yeah, I use AI for things. Like if you voice note me, I could transcribe that voice note and I can get help crafting that piece of content rather than what I used to do, which was listen to the voice note and transcribe it myself. God, those were the days. I don't know how I ever got anything done. I do believe that we are now coming to the point where it's kind of a given, but I think you just have to be very sensitive in terms of like some people aren't going to know that that's AI and it's your reputation at the end of the day. So again, having that brand and knowing what your brand stands for, all of that, like all of those decisions are so much easier when you know what it is you're trying to do. We pride ourselves in this. So we have to take these actions in our automations, in our AI, so that it is very clear that that's what's happening. And then, yeah, I think we just like honesty. I think the more honest you are, the better it is, really. Like, it's so funny. Last night, my partner and I were helping a client with their website stuff, and I was working on it, and he was working on it at the same time. So my stuff got deleted. It wasn't a good time for us. And I was talking to the client about it, and I did say, like, because she said, oh my God, I loved what my partner's Mitch did in the video. He did such a good job. And I said, oh, that's good. It makes up for the fact that he just deleted my whole work. Like just a joke, right? And then she's like, oh my God, don't tell her that I deleted everything. Like she'll think I'm incapable. I'm like, no, but I took the context and I was honest. Like I said, this is what happened. We're both working on it at the same time. He's like, oh, okay, that's fine. Because I think that builds a really beautiful relationship with my clients. They know mine and Mitch's dynamic. People love our dynamic because we work together so closely. And that's what makes us really relatable people. And just like we really care about their business, and we're also friends. We also deeply care about what you do. We take pride in that, and it just creates more of a relationship. And I find people that understand our dynamic and they really love us more, they're more likely to recommend us. They're more likely to continue that working relationship with us because they see us as really big part of their business, not just like, yep, work done, here's the work, delivery, bye. And for some people that might be fine. For me, that's not how I want it. That's not relatable to my brand and what I want to be known for. So again, comes down to what, your vision for your business.
You mentioned authenticity. It makes me think of something I saw recently from marketing heavyweight Seth Godin, where he's like, people don't want authenticity. What they really mean is consistency. Yeah. It's an interesting take that, people don't want you to be real. They want you to be consistent with what you're producing, what you're sharing, all the information you're putting out. Yeah. I personally am not sure how I feel about it because, again, maybe I'm so ingrained of everybody saying, you want to be authentic. You want to show who you are. I guess doing so instantly is kind of like you're meshing both anyway. So it's just something that makes me, I'm just thinking about that. I don't know if you have any thoughts on it.
I do. I agree I actually agree with him. But so, for example, if you had someone that was so authentic that they were like, for example, they were flaky, right? They were like I used to know a freelancer that was always, authentic, like told me what was going on. Hey, work got really busy, like contractor work got really busy, so I can't get this done in time. So that was authentic. Like he's being honest and authentically sharing what was happening in his situation. But I found that kept happening. So before it became, oh, he's being authentic, he's being honest, he's sharing what happened, to that's consistently happening, right? So I get what he's saying in that, like if you had someone showing up on social media who was a business coach and they kept showing up and sharing how their launch flopped and this flopped, like if they kept doing it, you'd be like, hang on, do you know what you're doing or not? You know what I mean? Like, so I agree authenticity is key, but like I think to a level of the people that you're trying to attract. In saying that though, for someone else, that might be amazing. Oh my God, thank God. Yep, they always show up and share every fail that they ever have. So I want to work with them. But for someone like me, to an extent, yes, you're human, great, tick, love that. But if you keep doing that, I might start to lose trust. So for example, if every time I made a mistake with a client, I told like, in the back end, we made this mistake, haha. They'd start to go like, do you know what you're doing? But that was a situation in which she had complimented Mitch. And I went, haha, that's nice because he made a mistake just before so that's different, right? If I did that every time without context, authentically shared what was happening, that would start to be like, okay, enough. I don't need to hear about every mistake that you do, right? And then you start to become known. So I agree in the fact that like yes, my clients just want to know that I'm consistently reliable. And then in those moments, I can authentically show up. There are some times I might have, and there's one thing that, like, for example, I'm a freelance, like a contractor, an agency. I work with many different clients. If every week I shared with a client, sorry, I can't help you with that right now. I'm working on another client's work. Sorry, I've got another client deadline. Oh, yep, I've got another client deadline, but I'll work on that soon. Eventually, I just start to paint this narrative that I'm always busy, right? And I don't think I need to do that all the time. I think it's just in the moments that are important that I need to say, hey, would love to help you with that quickly, but I'll do it once I finish this. So I don't feel like I need to share all the time that things aren't, that I'm tired, that I'm busy, that I'm, you know what I mean? Even though that's my current reality, I don't need to share that all the time.
One thing that I've always shared is that when you're freelancing, if you're contractor, agency owner, whatever, you want to be reliable. That's super important. Like that's the
Yeah,
most important thing. If I'm hiring someone out, like I need to know that you're reliable. If you're hiring me, you need to know that I'm reliable. Deadlines.
absolutely.
I
Yeah,
know
and
the
that's the
deadline.
consistency. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. The goal is to hit before the deadline. Like
Mm,
that's really the main goal is like, yeah, you gave me the deadline. I'm going to over deliver, just that's kind of the
yeah.
situation. I was on vacation, chilling in Mexico in a hotel. Got a, hey, this is a rush job. Can you do this for me? Sure, no problem. I just happened to be outside and it was really nice. I'm like, yeah, that's interesting. Like I've
Yeah.
never seen a video call with outside like that. Yeah, yeah, no, no, it's fine. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
No
I'll
worries.
get
No
it done
worries.
to
Yeah.
you by whatever. And I got it done in time. So it
Yeah,
was it
that's
was
right.
not an issue.
Yeah.
And also, just to make sure everyone has to charge the rush charge if you're going to do something like that. You got the
Yeah.
vacation
Yeah. Yeah.
fee
Yeah. If you
and
want to
the
take on that,
last minute.
yeah, if you want to take on that role, for sure. Absolutely. I think too, one thing that I try to do is I want my client to feel like, unless I have to set that boundary, you're working with me and I'm going to give you that experience. Sometimes my clients say, I feel like you only work for me. I feel like you don't have any other clients, but I know you do, right? Because that's the service I want to deliver. In saying that, I don't want to burn out in the process of that. I do need to set boundaries when boundaries need to be set. And of course, in saying that, when some clients do forget that I work for other people, sometimes they will push that boundary. Like they will pop a meeting in my calendar without asking me or things like that. And then I need to go back and say, hey, look, I can't do that. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Because they forget. But I think that's a compliment, right? I had someone say to me, I remember saying something and like, I think you realize you forget that we don't think you work for anyone else. So we sort of forget. So we just think that you're in our mind all the time. Like when clients are really vague, I'm like, that's very vague. And they're like, yeah, but we just think you're in our brain because we feel like that's the experience that we have with you. So I think, and I know as someone that hires freelancers and contractors as well, of course, I know they're working for someone else and that is fine with me. But at the same time, I do like that consistency in, yeah, like you are important to me. And even if, yeah, like I don't think about what my freelancers are doing right now. I don't think about that at all. Like, whatever they're doing is they'll get it done. But that's built with trust of them delivering things consistently on time. You want to have that trust that you don't want to be worried that you have to keep chasing someone for something just to make sure that they get it in time. I think that's
Yeah,
important.
no, oh my God. It's bad enough having to chase for money if they don't pay on time.
Yeah.
Just, paying to make sure that somebody's work is done. You're not there to handhold.
No, that's
Everyone's an
right.
adult. You could take care of your own business.
Yeah.
But I agree on boundaries. It just keeps popping up on my chats. I think it depends on the type of relationship that you have with your client, where it's like it's a compliment. Sometimes I'm like, hold on a second. I'm like, we're not that close.
Yeah.
It's just like I
Yes.
like you, but like don't
Don't push it.
overstep. We just started working. When clients come to you, what's something that they usually are doing wrong with their content?
I think usually, and it's interesting, the one thing that came up for me a lot the start of this year, I think they're not utilizing what they have enough. So
Mm.
they're not thinking strategically about what they're doing. And they're just sort of like throwing stuff up there and sort of like, next time I'll do it strategically or next time. And there's never a next time, right? You never like, oh, okay, we've got Mother's Day is coming up. Yep, let's just rush out a campaign and the next year will be better. And it never happens because they never have the plan in place to support what they're trying to do. And this year I've been hired a lot more for my strategic brain. Yeah, of course, people want execution because they don't want to do it themselves at all. Even with AI, they still don't want to do it. They don't. They're just, no one wants to do it, right? No one wants to show up. They're happy to film the video and they're happy to be guided with what to do. They don't want to do it once it's been filmed or once it's been written or whatever. They just want to get rid of it. But I think there's no like, oh, next time you have to sit down and put out a plan of what you're doing when, and it can shift and it can change. And yes, having a posting plan helps. Knowing what you're doing and why you're doing it is so, so valuable, because really a lot of businesses are just throwing out whatever comes up. An example of this is we work with in Australia, fish and chips and seafood and fish is very, very much part of our culture. Fish and chips is a very UK thing. It's come over to Australia. It's fish and chips on the beach. It's just a thing. And we have a client that they have their own fish and chip shop, but it's very like their marketing tagline is it's a seafood experience because all things. Anyway, we have a strategy for them. We know why we're doing it, what we're doing, who we're trying to reach, what content goes out on what day, what we need to facilitate that content. And then we learn based on the metrics. There is a competing fish and chip shop. I wouldn't say direct competitors because they're in a different area, right? So it's not really a thing. No strategy, don't know what they're doing, just throwing stuff up there. And the one viral video they had, because in this industry, virality is important because you're like a hidden gem. You want to be discovered. The way TikTok works with food now, it's discoverability, right? We want to be discovered. The one viral video they had, which reached about 32,000 people, was her bad-mouthing a customer. And every comment was hate comment. But for a business owner, oh, viral, yes, any press is good press. But now I see that brand and I go, she just all over customers. Like it wasn't, apparently the customer got double charged. So firstly, they did a wrong thing. They double charged the customer. So she emailed them, but then didn't give any context on the order number, the date, everything. And she went back, I think, quite abruptly and was like, well, give me more details. Like, what am I going to do with that information? And because she was quite abrupt, then the customer come back abrupt and then it kind of started a bit of a war. So she took it to social media, hoping that, like, thinking that people would be like, oh yeah, what a stupid customer, like being very vague. And everyone's like, you're in the wrong. What are you doing? So now she goes, oh, bad mouthing customers works because we get views. They only look at the views.
What? No.
So she's done it multiple times. She's also bad-mouthed delivery drivers. This could be a total different narrative, right? So she had a delivery driver come in, grab the food, and then take the food to the toilet. Weird. And then she went, hang on, no, you're not leaving my store with that food. Contacted the customer, sent the delivery driver away, remade the food, and then ordered another person to go take it, whatever. Great story, right? But she started with bad-mouthing the person instead of sharing, like the way she shared it. So now I see that brand and I just think that owner is like aggressive, abrupt, rude, right? So this is the sort of the difference between having a strategy and not having a strategy. The most viral video that we had was 1.1 million and it was of the product. It was a viral video of what they sell versus a viral video of 32,000 views of you bad-mouthing a customer. I know which one I would want as a business owner. So that's where the difference between strategy versus non-strategy. I see a lot of business owners don't think they need a strategy. They don't think they need a plan. And then they just post stuff out and they might get a few hits and a few takes, but it's not for the right reasons.
It's interesting that you brought virality, that, at least in the food and beverage, you want to be viral. Now, because it's usually like viral's fine, but you got to be able to continue after that. You got to be able to like... Yeah,
and it comes and goes, right? It's hard to be consistently viral.
Exactly. What is kind of like a hot tip that on like try on being viral? Because again, you never really know what goes viral. Like it just, it really is sometimes up in the air on what's hot and what's not. Sometimes you could have the formula and the formula next time around just doesn't work.
Yeah. I think the first thing is like trying to build consistently high engaging content over like trying to hit virality because we know it's inconsistent. We're aware it's inconsistent. Like that client, we had like a 6-month period where we had a lot of viral videos and now we haven't had as many, but sales are still great and we have the consistent views, but not necessarily a viral video. But I do know, not necessarily the formula, but the types of content that go viral. Calamari being one of them. Salt and pepper calamari. They have out the front of this restaurant, they have their own. So in Australia, we have something called chicken salt. Once you try chicken salt, you'll never be the same person ever again. So instead of putting salt on our chips, we put chicken salt on our chips. So they have like a table out the front where people do their own chicken salt. And because the chicken salt is chained to the bench, every time I put a video of it, oh, don't you trust anyone to not steal the chicken salt? No, we don't. People love chicken salt. Like people will steal chicken salt. So if I I know, not necessarily know the formula, but I know the types of content that will go viral, if that makes sense. So if I do want a hit of an injection of, like, for example, I had a client every time we talked about tax. So it wasn't necessarily the hook, like this style of video, it was just the topic itself that seemed to attract. So I would say first, don't rely on going viral, but once you find a topic that is interesting, play around with different types of content in that, but try just to build that consistency, I think is important, and add in activation. So with this client, we just did a Mother's Day giveaway, and across 2 posts, we had like 280 entries to the giveaway. And
now, do you add the the call to action, the giveaway in the video, or do you add it in the caption?
Both. I do both.
Okay.
Yeah. So, because some people don't read anything. People don't read anything anymore. So yeah, no, I did both. But so like, and now we know like the winter period will be really quiet. So I said, what could we do as an activation? So a couple of things that we thought of is, because they sell fresh seafood. So we thought we would do a cooking from home series. So you can come in, buy like if you don't want to have fish and chips on the beach in winter. I mean, to be fair, it is usually pretty decent weather there all year round. It's kind of like the Florida of Australia. But we'll just get them, like we'll do a different series, and we might even get a influencer to come in and who does cooking videos to do a cooking video, you know, so we start to plan out things like during the summer, we don't need any big marketing activations. It's always busy. We just need to keep the audience warm. Whereas like in winter, we need to be a bit more creative. So also if you are working in an industry that is very seasonal, you've got to play try to be engaging and do activations in your quieter periods, and then in your busy periods, like I find it's busy, so let's like pour out content, and then when it's quiet, we're like, oh no, now we've got to get stuff up. So you've kind of got to ride those waves.
And are you are you thinking this far in advance? I assume that they booked you for a retainer for like say 6 months or a year, whatever it is. They they already have you locked in. You're strategically thinking, 3-6 months down the line while still trying to do a couple things currently.
Yeah, I mean that's the goal of being like having a strategy, right? And just knowing the seasons. Yes, so usually I'll have a meeting with the client once a month, and I try to do 2-3 months ahead of time. Okay, what do we need to work on? But then sometimes when it, like say in November for the Christmas period, we kind of already know what we're doing then. So there's going to be times where you don't need to have an actively sit down strategy session, but I try to do like a quarterly check-in where we're like planning for the next quarter ahead. But I do catch up with my clients once a month. So that's sort of how we plan ahead. But what I always recommend doing is if you do a 12-month calendar, you pick your sort of activating times, and then you at least know what's coming up, and then you can plan for it.
Do you feel that strategy has been much more important? It feels like the past year, people have been talking about strategy a lot more. It feels like it's also another buzzword, but it feels like it's actually one that's kind of important. Strategy and storytelling does go hand in hand, and you kind of have to have both because at different times you do need them.
Yeah. I think because in the rise of social media, you could throw something up and it'd get decent views, right? Because it was reaching your current audience. Then we had Reels come out, which would then mean you'd reach different audience. So that was cool. And then we had TikTok, obviously, which it was really easy to get lots of views on TikTok if you jumped on it early enough. And then now that we're starting to see a decline in all of that, we're like, what do we do? Because we weren't strategic. Now it's not about the metrics in terms of views and likes. Now it's like, how are we using this content to amplify what we're doing? For example, I just had a call with a client who went to a massive event, and I said, we tried to do a post every day of that conference. And I said, the reason we did that, it's not just like to leverage what was at the conference, it's to show event organizers, it's to show like we take this stuff seriously. So if they're ever looking for a speaker, they're ever looking for stall holders, etc. Like I've had a client who's been able to be gifted a stall and not have to pay for a stall based on the fact that we consistently post about events that she goes to on LinkedIn. They see that as an opportunity. Well, she'll probably create content about us. That's that's an exposure to the conference for the price of a stall, for the price of a table, for the price of a speaker. So it's not just about the views anymore. It's how is that content helping us with those business goals as a whole. So that's where I think people are like, oh, we can't just rely on likes and views anymore. We have to be strategic to go, what is the point of this? Why are we doing this? And for some people, it's also because they want to run ads. So one client, the reason I had to keep reminding her, she's like, I hate Instagram. I'm like, yeah, I know, but you want to run meta ads and we have to have some kind of presence if you're going to run meta ads. Oh, yeah. Now she's running meta ads and she's now remembering why, oh, yeah, that worked. So, for some people, it's so different. And I think like, that's why we have to be strategic, because we're not all there for the same reason. And we're not, we'll go on social media. And I think we're tired of if you're not on TikTok yet, your business is failing. Or you should try YouTube. I've seen all this success on YouTube. Like if I had $1 for every client that had a meeting with a friend, with a business mentor, with anyone, they'd be like, hey, so I had this meeting today and someone suggested we should try YouTube. But because we have that strategy, we can always fall back on that. I think people are getting tired of listening to other people and it not working for them. So now we're going, I need to find something that works for me. And how do I do that? I need to have a strategy. I need to have a plan. So I've got something to measure and I've got something to go by. Doesn't mean that strategy is going to work, but it means you go, okay, that didn't work. Let's try something else.
No, I was thinking about it because I know a lot of it you do is very social, but I was just curious on your thoughts on YouTube. It seems to be, since it's connected to Google, the SEO would show up in the description and everything. Like it feels like it would be a useful place to have your information up there at some point on various topics. I'm just curious on what you think about it. I know obviously it's a different game plan, different thinking, but it just feels like
it's all part of the organic strategy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I think, again, it just depends on what you're trying to achieve and what you want to do. I have clients, sometimes some of them are on YouTube as a discovery channel and some of them are on YouTube as to send people somewhere. So on social media, we have someone, like if you're going to listen to a 10, 15, 20-minute YouTube video, you're more likely to buy from me. But someone that discovers you cold may not. So it depends on how you want to use it in your funnel. For some people, it is a top of funnel channel. For some, it's like the middle to bottom funnel. Again, it depends on your industry and like what you want to achieve. Yes, everything so ChatGPT AI is the 3 main sources it's using to give information to people is YouTube, LinkedIn, Reddit. So if you want to be discovered on AI, if you think your audience would be searching you on AI, it would probably make sense to be on those channels so that you are searchable. And again, going back to like what channels you enjoy, do you like video? Would you show up for a 10-minute video, 20-minute video? If you're doing a podcast like this, how much extra energy is it to put it on YouTube? Obviously, if you've already got your keywords mapped out for your podcast, it only takes an extra 10 minutes, or I've got a VA that could help me with that. I've got a repurposing manager that can help me with that. Then that's a no-brainer, right? Why wouldn't you do that? So, but if you want to grow on YouTube and you want to be discovered on YouTube, that's a whole other strategy. And that's a long game. That takes a lot of time.
I feel like there's 2 different thoughts on the whole YouTube. I was just curious on the marketing aspect. And
Yeah.
right, the discoverability is totally different. Like it feels more like you're trying to be a YouTuber, which that's good and good for them. That's a whole different strategy and how to get yourself up there.
Some people just use it as a hosting platform, right? To host videos that they're going to use in other places.
Exactly. It's a lot of evergreen content that's up there to get your information out there and then just have that call to action. They'll drive them to wherever whatever you're trying to bring them to.
Mm-hmm.
You've mentioned businesses shouldn't be like following the latest trends to stay relevant. Why do you think that so many businesses still chase trends?
Well, I think we all want that moment. Like anyone that has success on a channel is always going to say, this channel is amazing. You should try it.
Of course.
It's always going to happen. And that's why people that when Instagram Reels started and people jumped on being Instagram Reels coaches, their Reels performed well because they were teaching Reels. But then they're telling you that your Reels could go well, but you're not talking about Instagram Reels. So they're not going to go as well. You know what I mean? It's just, I think with anything, you have to look at it from a lens of what am I trying to achieve? What do I want to do? Is this platform right for me? And what am I using it for? Because then always it'll go back to we haven't gone viral on YouTube yet, but that's not the goal. The goal of the YouTube is as a hosting platform so we can use this video content in other spaces. It all comes down to we are all here to do different things and different things are going to work for us. So whenever I say to create your ideal content marketing plan using storytelling and strategy, because what works for me is not going to work for you.
Feel like some people they need to build up the strategy because they're all over the place. You'll see them on LinkedIn, TikTok, where it's
and at random times in random moments, and then they'll go through for a couple of months.
And they're not consistent.
It happens.
Do you think timing matters, like time of day, That used to feel like at one point when you're posting social media, it used to be like, all right, at noon and at 3 o'clock or right before dinner time, people will be up there and you could get the likes and, you could be viral. But now it's,
I do. Like, I think there are certain days that are always going to perform better, and I always keep that in mind, but I don't think we should obsess over it. Like, I think we should just go, well, my audience are parents, and I'm not going to post a video at 4 o'clock when they're doing school pickup. Like, why would I? Maybe I would do it at 8 o'clock when they're sitting down on the couch mind-numbingly scrolling, and then I happen to save their lives with my product or service, right? Like, it's all relative, right? And if you're trying to hit a US market and an Australian market, I think that's really more relevant for platforms like Instagram. Like TikTok, it doesn't. Like, I had a video I posted in April 2023 and it went viral in November of 2023. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know that time of day really matters that much for TikTok, but for a platform like Instagram, who use the first like however many minutes to gauge whether that's going to be engaging, I do think. But I think it's changing. I think all the social media platforms are starting to head towards more of a TikTok algorithm than their own. I feel like anything
do you
TikTok
think that's
does,
good or
everyone will.
bad?
I think it's good. I think it opens us up to the opportunity that our content is not dead as soon as it's posted. I think it gives it like more life. I think anything you post and spend time and energy on, you should be given the opportunity for it to be shared to multiple different groups rather than like how much engagement does it get. I think Instagram changed their algorithm though to help. I think they share it with your followers before your non-followers. If it gets engagement from your followers, they'll push it out. I haven't really seen it make a difference, but I always know when an algorithm change is happening because the views tank big time, and then they sort of even out. It's like the petrol prices at the moment. We're now used to spending $1 gazillion a litre. So then eventually when it stays at $1 gazillion a litre and we see it at $1 gazillion a litre, oh, that's pretty cheap.
And for the Americans, she's talking about gas.
Yeah, sorry. We're in petrol and litres, and I think you're in gallons and gas. So.
Yeah. Gasoline, yeah. Lucky old Bluey helped me out here. Luckily, I have a little kid.
Bluey, what an icon.
I like to kind of wrap things up, lighten up the situation with a little bit of rapid fire questions.
Oh my God,
Sometimes
love rapid
just
fire.
answer whatever goes off your head. Sometimes the topics end up being a longer answer.
Okay, sure.
It's fair game, but I like to start it off. So we'll start it off really simple and easy, and then we'll work our way to as fun and difficult or whatever. Are you a coffee or tea person?
Tea, 100% tea.
100% tea. Oh,
Yeah.
favorite tea?
English breakfast.
Interesting. You know what? I like chamomile.
Not herbal teas, sorry. It's such a UK thing, our tea, because obviously I'm from Australia, but we take on a lot of UK, culture, and tea for everything. You're sad, tea, you're happy, tea, wake up, tea, go to sleep, tea, and always the same. And everyone's very fussy about their milk.
Oh my God. I had a parent friend of mine who's from London, and he's like, how do you want your tea? However you take it.
Yeah, it's
that's
phenomenal
how
you do it. Yeah.
Like, let me just put the tea in, press the tea back for 20 seconds, add a little splash of milk. I'm like, all right, cool. I'm good. That's how you take it.
How you have it, I'll have it. It's like
way.
Vegemite. How an Australian will give you Vegemite is very different to how you think the Vegemite should go. So never do Vegemite on your own.
Oh, this is so funny. What are your top 3 book recommendations?
I just read one called Competing Against Luck. Great one for business owners. It's all about the jobs to be done theory. Really good book. The second one is James Clear, Atomic Habits. I think it's really good if you want to try and be more consistent with your life. And
classic.
The third one, great question. Third one, Harry Potter.
There you go.
We'll stick with the classic.
Of course. Hey, I am all for any kinds of book. Marketing, business,
I think sometimes
fictional.
you get creativity from reading fiction books.
Absolutely. It just sparks something different that you never think. It's all about perspective. What's one piece of content that you're most proud of?
I think the docuseries that we did, not on my page, but for a client celebrating 20 years in business, it was really powerful. And after we filmed that, the owner messaged me and said, I haven't felt this passionate about the business in a long time.
That's a good message.
Because they've been in it for 20 years, right? And it becomes very mundane and the same. And especially when you're working in hospitality. And I think we sparked a really a lot in the team as well. So it was really powerful.
What's one marketing trend you wish would disappear?
Definitely more of the bro marketing, those landing pages where everything's red and there's flashy buttons and I hate that. Let's get rid of that. Anything bro marketing, really, just get rid of it. We don't need it.
Here is one that I like to ask. And there was a show in the States. I'm not sure if it ever aired elsewhere, but it was called Inside the Actor's Studio.
Oh, yes. I don't remember watching it, but I remember seeing it on like pay TV. Yeah.
There was always a list of questions at
Mm-hmm.
the end that he would ask the celebrity, whoever it is, the actor, comedian. One of them I've always thought was a fantastic question to ask. And I've always thought if I had my own show, I'd ask this. And that question is, and I'd like to ask, what is your favorite curse word?
I think I saw a video on this and she's like, I don't know. And it became like a viral video. My favorite curse word would be, it's got to be really Australian. I'm not going to say the C one though, because that's very Australian. I feel like I've got so many, but I'm going to go, I like you're a
Okay.
We say that a lot. Or bloody
Really?
hell. Yeah, we say that a lot. Like I would with love call my dad a and it sounds really bad to say, but you'd say like, ha ha ha, you're such a like it's not meant to be mean. Australians can be
It's
very
endearing.
offensive. That's why, yeah, it's endearing. Or like you're an idiot. Ha ha. Such an idiot. Yeah, the same with the C word, to be fair. So I would say or bloody hell. Or bloody hell. Which means like bloody hell, like damn it. Goddamn. Yeah, bloody hell. Yeah, that's very Australian. So they're probably my two favorite. I don't know. I probably have got more that I say. Mitch is my partner's thinking because I probably have said them to him before and he gets upset. Oh, he's got some good ones in Spanish. I know some Spanish ones, but we won't go there. They sound nicer. Colombian Spanish accent is like more singing. So it sounds like they're singing the swear word at you, which is nice.
You're just floating.
Not as
How
aggressive.
nice. And it's like,
Yeah.
oh, wait.
That means not what you think. Anyway, I'm still heavily trying to learn my Spanish, but let's see how that goes as I go back to South America. I just find when you're with someone that speaks Spanish, you just let them talk and then you get lazy. So I just don't order my food. Someone else is going to do it for me.
It's been a very informative conversation. I really appreciate you coming on. Let's just wrap it up and with where can everybody find you?
Yes, social media, definitely. Content Queen Mariah on social media. Mariah is Maria with a H, or like Mariah Carey for spelling. Or you can just head to my website, www.contentqueenmariah.com, where is my podcast. Joe come on the show like many episodes ago now, it feels like. I can't even remember. It was a couple of years ago now, so I'm sure you'll have to search his name in the search bar. Oh my God, so good. You just know it, right? So you can listen to the episode with Joe, which was really great. And yeah, just connect with me there. Come say hello on social media, on Instagram. I love to talk, as you have noticed. So you would probably get a voice note back from me if you message me. And if you don't like voice notes, sorry.
Too bad. And I'm Joe Barron. You can find me at brandonbarron.com and everywhere Brandon Barron. If you're looking for branding, graphic design, all that good creative stuff in the States. And if not, if you need somebody out in the down under, I know somebody. And don't forget to follow Market to Me at market2me.com. Again, it's marketing. And also some people draw. So it's market. Look, I'm so smart. That's how I do it.
You are smart. Love the play on words. Good job.
All right. And that's it, everybody. Bye, everybody.
Bye.